formalize your managed service offerings. And it's good to have good documentation. You only have to do it, once or twice, and you make some changes here and there, just kind of like a contract. But it'll really help you out. So I have risk 1 here, and you name it, hardware failure. The description, my server hard drive fails. And you have 2 numbers that you put in. You have a chance, what's the chance that this happens? Hardware failing, 100%. It's going to happen. Your manufacturer tells you so. What's the impact? The impact factor is also a percentage, so it's from 0 to 1. So if your server hard drive fails and you don't have any backup or anything, nothing's in place, your impact is, like 0.8. Rule of thumb is that your risk factor is your chance multiplied by your damage, and if your risk factor is over 0.1 or 0.1 or over, then you need to really pay attention to it. So I'd put some pretty formatting where, if-then statements, if it's over 0.3, make it big in red, something like that. And then you define, okay, and you have 3 things that you can do once you've identified a risk. You can put in means of preventing this from happening. You can put in means to mediate or mitigate the issue. So that's reacting to it, which is what typically you would know off the top of your head. And then there's just acceptance. So acceptance is just either, well, if we can't prevent it and then we try to mediate and we can't get it, well, we just have to accept whatever the losses are. Or if it's something that's really low percentage of happening, such as like this natural disaster, description, LA falls into the ocean, percentage chance, let's not get into a debate over whether LA is actually going to fall into the ocean or not, but just for example, here, damage is 1, risk factor is there, so I'm not really going to put anything to prevent this from happening. If it does happen, there's not a whole lot I can do about it. Acceptance, check. Michael says knock on wood. Yeah, definitely, right? There we go. So putting together a risk registry like this really helps you put in your package services together. And also, people love documentation and standards. People love standards. Think about every time you go to a restaurant. You don't have the chef coming to you and asking you for ingredients to the soup. They're just going to give you a soup and ask you if you want bread or salad with it. So we're creating a managed service package soup that involves multiple services, but you have to have a purpose for each of the services, and this is how you validate the purpose. And then you can add another column if you want, if you're actually evaluating, and you can put, okay, what's currently in place? Majority of the SMBs you go into, there's some sort of mediation plan, and I just put a common one here if they're running backup executive tape. And then there's additional SLAs that go behind this, like test recoveries, whatever it is. User error, none. So it's good to put this sort of stuff together. All right. We can go more into that later. We do host a regular webinar every week on Wednesdays for our sign partners to talk more specifically about that type of strategy and putting together those types of plans. Back to ServerSave, the program. Well, what do you get when you come into the ServerSave program? Well, you're going to get the ability to offer exchange, backup, and granular recovery to your clients. So a ServerSave license includes the ability to do that, as well as to do bare metal image backup. So the bare metal image creator and image stream, these top 2 are it's what's new technology. So those of you who are existing, you may have had some of the other things already, but these are new in this program. So using the image creator, you're able to back up a full system image to some staging machine. So the staging machine is really nice from us because we don't require that you buy it from us. Most of the competitors out there who are in BDR, which is what image-based backup has become known as, they make you buy some proprietary hardware that only works with their system, and it's not cheap. It's usually a couple $1,000, or you have to lease it. You're still committing to a few $1,000s. With us, we just build you the software, and you can put together whatever black box you want. Windows 7 machine, 8 gigs of RAM, something of that nature. And we have some knowledge-based articles on the more technical specifics of that. but we don't require you to buy a $2,000 box from us just because we want to sell you hardware. We're a software company. So Pulse Centralized Management agent-based system allows you to install on any machine, workstation, laptop, server, and it will monitor the events from the application running, and will also pull more detailed information about the specific events. So those of you using things like IT Control Suite, SpiceWorks, ConnectWise to monitor hardware and networks, you can just point any of those systems, of course, to the application events for the backup and still use that system. But our system is going to be very specific in that it's ours, and we're gonna scrape the logs and give you more detailed information. Premier Web Integration. So this is part of our 360-degree partner package. So those of you in here who have ever entered a partnership before, majority of you I assume, know that getting a new service in place that you can offer your clients is the easy part. The hard part is getting your business ready to offer it. How are you going to bill for it? How do you let people know that you have it? How do you accept support tickets for this thing and keep that organized? You know, what's going on? Do you have a web presence that's based on this? And the Premier Web Package handles all this. So it's something that is very unique in the industry, and we're going to go through it very specifically in a minute here. And then, of course, the mobile backup applications. So in the coming weeks and months, we're going to be releasing more neutral, just managed online backup applications that your users can use so that they can recover information, share information, back up information, all from their mobile devices, which is huge for a little productive swing of things when it comes to your backup solution. My glasses is branded. It's going to be neutral branded. So just managed online backup rather than, it won't say SOS anywhere. And those of you who have dealt with Apple, you understand why we're not doing a heavy branding for the mobile applications. So for the feature list, here's a grid, and this is more historical and who we were typically competing with our file and folder program. So we consider that to be our version 4 technology, is the file and folder backup agent. So those of you who are already partners, this is familiar to you. We've always been best in backup. We've been compared against countless file and folder backup programs, which there are a lot. So directly compared against Carbonite, Mozy, iDrive, iBackup, Elephant Drive, Backup Blaze, you know, you name it, we've been compared and we've come out on top. And that's all because the combination of simplicity and true backup security. When we talk about our V5 technology and adding the mobile backup, social backup, and the image-based backup, we're now really playing in a different field. You know, we're not in the same sandbox as Carbonite and Mozy and not are. We're competing in a new space. The new space includes names like Zenith, Intronis, i365, Acronis, Crash Plan, same thing. Yeah, we've been compared against them. There we go. There are a lot of players in file and folder backup now. But there are very few players in what is called BDR, so what's listed here. And what's great about this is that we're entering this market in BDR where there isn't a whole lot of competition to begin with, but then when you look at the end-to-end solution we can provide, really none of these other companies are touching the other part of the space. So if we look at things like, we've got a grid here. This is just one of our awards. We just got this last November. So this is where we were operating. We got some good questions coming in, and we'll get to it in just a minute, guys. This is the file and folder online backup market. Lots of names in here. And this is where we were. With the addition of ServerSave, this is where we are now. So we've really more than doubled our addressable market, and we've now identified ourselves as really the only vendor that gives you an end-to-end solution. Again, a really good file and folder system to handle the extremities of your networks and your file servers, so file and folder backup, and really give you a good strategy when it comes to recovering at a file and folder level. And on top of that, now offering image-based backup where you can recover entire systems, applications, exchange granular recovery, and all in the same bucket. So it's really quite a powerful operation, and we're doing it at a very disruptive price. So when we were planning this out, we really wanted to disrupt the market with our partners. So we wanted, the whole objective was, what can we do to give our partners a disruptive package that's not only going to apply to more customers as this market is growing, but at a price that's going to severely undercut what's already out there. So let's go to product demo. We have some questions. I'll leave this grid up and we have some of these questions. Some are direct competitors. How do we match up against companies like CrashPlan and Acronis? Well, I mean, being familiar with what we're going through now and familiar with what they do, it's a difference of cost, requirements as far as do you have to buy their hardware or not, and what is it specialized in. Acronis does a great job of doing a local backup strategy, but why would you go to Acronis to do a local backup strategy if you're using us to go off-site, and we now also offer that same on-site backup strategy? Think of the difference in costs in training your customers and in yourself when you can deal with one vendor instead of 3 vendors. A couple questions about industry-specific items. So how do you address ITAR compliance for aerospace and defense industry? I'm not sure what ITAR compliance is and we work right across the street from the biggest aerospace industry in the U.S. here in El Segundo. From what we're familiar with, aerospace pretty much requires private cloud, and they have their own data centers and access to them, and they don't use, they wouldn't use something like this. ITAR involves data release to international entities. Oh, interesting. Yeah, well, again, those of you familiar with the security of the software, let's do a quick run through. It's encrypted before it's transferred at 256-bit AES. It's transferred over a 128-bit SSL, and then it's stored at an additional 1024-bit AES at the first data center, and then it's replicated to a geographically separate second data center. So hugely secure. There is no international release of information or release of information to anyone. And for HIPAA compliance, it's locked down even more so where there is no password recovery option, which would also probably fall under ITAR. So if the password's lost, the data is lost. Well, it's still there, but it's just an encrypted mess and no one can get to it. We won't store any way of recovering a password, things like that. But ITAR compliance, I'm not specifically sure how we regulate that and how we address it. Oftentimes with these types of compliances, a majority of it has to do with local procedures and the business. So it's rare that we are the cause of a violation of these security compliances. Good question about where the data centers are geographically. We have them in the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, Chennai, and Kiev. We have 10 total. It is correct. So it says it would be the responsibility of the individual company to ensure ITAR regulations are adhered to. Definitely. Right. All the data centers are tier 3 and 4 rated, so they all are, they have the